All right, giddy, and welcome. So, I'm going to make a response to a comment I got about going to the double bass drum and gigging and stuff like that. Okay, so if you look at my kit now, we'll have a nice tour of the kit. So, got my Tama 14 by 6.5 snare here. Even still got the tags on it. Not that I'm lazy, but yeah. So that's the snare. It's the 1465 DST 1465. That's the model. It's a nice snare. No issues with the sound of it. But I think that snare would be better over here, and a smaller snare right here. So that's the snare. SBR bass model cymbals. Yes, these are the only beginner cymbals I'm ever going to buy. From here on out, it's all professional stuff. Why? I don't do that. Okay, I'll do something slightly better, slightly better, and then you have all this stuff that you don't use because it's not, I go beginner, pro. There's no point in wasting money. I'd rather buy less and better quality than the other way around. So, yeah, these are just my trainer kind of thing. So, like my next hi-hats, again, I'll have to go to the store and play them. With cymbals, it's one of those things that you have to play them to see if you like it. Now, my old drummer years ago, him and I used to go into the music store. We would be in there for hours, bing, bing. And, do you like this one? This one has a richer sound. This one's a little darker. This one's a little brighter. This one's a little quieter. This is a little louder, whatever. And you go through it, and you almost shop by ear rather than price, if that makes sense. And it's subjective, right? What a cymbal you might like, I might hate, vice versa. What I like, you might not like at all. So yeah, obviously my next ride is going to be something really nice. I want to, splash, crash, and ride as my basic foundation stuff because one commenter said, maybe it was in the same comment or whatever, that you should always buy the best cymbals you could possibly afford. And I agree. The hardware is, but the hardware is a tricky one because if you buy hardware and you invest in the hardware, you're kind of going to be a slave to that drum brand to a degree. Unless if you don't want to mix hardwares, right? So that's why, I'm looking at a lot of the Gibraltar stuff because then it's kind of like, it's not like having all Pearl hardware with a Mapex drum kit or all Mapex hardware with a Pearl drum. You know what I mean? I don't like that kind of mixed match if you can help it. And it's just being fussy. It's not a functionality thing. It's just whatever. But if you really, a lot of people use the Tama Iron Cobra with other kits because they just really like that pedal. So I try to stay as much Mapex as I can, not sponsored by them or anything like that. I wish it was, but it'd be maybe about 5 years before that could even become a possibility. I suck too much, but maybe they'd want to say, well, here, we're going to help this guy on his journey, right? He sucks really bad now, but watch how good he gets. Yeah, like that had ever happened. But anyway, I kid. But the point I'm making is that this drum kit is going to be paid off by the end of this month. So I got a year worth of payments, and the only upgrades I've done so far was the Vickforth isolation headphones and my Mapex double pedal, which was an $800 upgrade, and that's the Falcon 1000. And sticks. That's the only things I upgraded on this drum kit. But the next things is going to be the skins, which I'm probably going to go to the Evans Hydraulics, or unless you guys say, hey, if you're going to be doing metal and you want really, really low tunings to get the heaviest sounds, try these instead. I'm probably going to go with an EMAD 3 or 2, whichever I can get a hold of, on the bass drum. Now, somebody had commented on, going through the double bass and good luck gigging with that. You don't have to tell me about that at all. I'll tell you why. Because my old drummer, Scott, he had not only the double bass Pearl exports with the 2218, whatever they were, Pearl exports, right? He had 4 or 5 upper toms, 2 or 3 floor toms, and 29 cymbals. Yeah, so you don't have to tell me what's involved with that. Trust me, him and I used to set up his kit. It was 45 minutes to set it up, 45 minutes to take it down every gig. At one point we got to the point where he had that, Yeah, that, and two other cymbals. So I get that. Like for as often as I'm going to play live, like the double pedal, the double bass drum is more like this kid is not going to see a lot of gigs. You know, if I could do a couple of opening act gigs in a country band or whatever, for a rock metal band, it'd be awesome. You know, play for 45 minutes and whatever. Now, building up my like stamina for a double bass pedal versus two single pedals. I have tried the single pedal setup years and years ago, but so it's just a matter of adapting, right? But another critique that I got was, you know, like you know, where I just, you know, like with the guitars, I do the same thing. Like when I was a kid, I used to play. I used to play my guitars for like 6-8 hours at a time, right? And you don't really get better doing that. You don't. But you do have to get a certain level. It's the same thing with the bass. You got to play it for about an hour to be able to play it for an hour. So something I wanted to add, because somebody pointed out when I said that, like, I'll do like 15 minutes, take a break, and then go do something else, come back and practice something else 15 minutes. But I'm practicing different things each time, right? Like year 2, you're going to see a lot of different things that I'm going to do, like very specific beats, very specific styles, you know, applying the fundamental rudiments to these styles, etc., etc. Playing more with the metronome, yes, I'll do all that. But the thing is that, you know, yes, you're right. You do have to sit there and play solid for an hour. If you get, and this, nobody can knock this advice, because this is just as a multi-instrumentalist. This is no truer word has ever been spoken, but you get good at what you practice. So if you practice for endurance, you get good at endurance. If you practice for groove, you get good at groove. This applies to every instrument without exception. So let's have a look around this kit. So I don't know, like the way I've got the kit set up, it might not make sense to a lot of people, but if you haven't tried this setup, you know, it really does work very well. Everybody I know that plays with the toms here, these are all the people that are, you know, if they're playing with a bigger bass drum especially, everything's high. These are the people that always seem to have the injuries. The guys that play like this, and there's a lot of metal guys that play like this, Slaughter to Prevail with that drummer, same setup. The guy with the big drum channel there, I Prevail guy, same setup. Charlie Benente, he has something similar like this from Anthrax. Like, I mean, those guys, are they wrong? You know what I mean? Judge, you got to try it. Like, I've tried probably 20 different setups on this. That's why I've come to the conclusion I need smaller drums, or smaller bass drum, really. I want to go shallow toms and a 20-inch bass drum, so I can drop things down a bit more, and a smaller 2 inches less on the snare. Yes, you'll lose some of those big drum sounds, but if you're miking a drum kit, there's really not a huge difference between a 20-inch drum and a 22-inch drum. You know, you can tweak it enough that, you know, I know somebody, oh, it's huge difference. $3,000 guitar, $300 guitar, yeah, there's a difference in tone, but like it's that much, it's that important. Drums are the same. I've had a lot of experienced drummers tell me that. It's like, it really comes down to put the best skins on there. It's more about how you play. You know, $3,000. Like I know a guy. He has like a $3,000 drum kit. You know, or you know, like this is over $3,000. You know, believe it or not, with all the stuff. You know, and he gigs with like an entry level with good skins on it. And he goes, for the difference in the tone, you know, the audience doesn't notice live. Now, if you're going through the state-of-the-art PA and stuff like that, yeah, you do pick up those, okay, this drum kit sounds slightly better than that, but it's that much. It's that much. And I know people will fight me on it, but it's just true. It's just true. You know, you're arguing over that much. So for me, I'd rather have smaller, more ergonomic drums that you can play. That's why a lot of people go to those hybrid, like the D drum types. Because they're smaller drums and they can, you know, they can get them more ergonomic. And there's a lot of advantage to those type of drums. Me, I love the acoustic drums because I love the acoustic drums. But knowing what I know now, yes, I would definitely buy Shallow toms, like the floor toms, I don't care. Get the biggest floor tom you can possibly squeeze beside you. You know, like that. That's fine. But for the bass drum, like if I was a taller man, like I'm 5'9", right? So if I was taller and you could sit up more and my arms were longer, then yeah, that could work for me. But the problem is you have to, once you start having to reach for stuff, every time you move, you're creating, you know, you're doing that with your shoulders. That's injuries.